starts in the Noune. Okay, don't overthink this. Don't overthink. Good evening. Tuesday, June 19th, 2018 in Sarasota, Florida. Haven't recorded like this in a very, very long time. What few video recordings I've done in the past 2-3 years have, I think, been more musically inclined, juggling or dancing or singing. I don't think I've done one where I've been attempting to just speak. This is a little impulsive, inspired, it's going to sound crazy, but inspired simply because this is dressing up for me, especially in the state that I live in, especially this time of year in the state that I live in, where you want to be wearing as little as possible because it's so incredibly hot. And I was invited to dinner by an elder lady friend of mine, elder, not older, but I see her as an elder. She's about 2 decades older than me and very, very wise and very, very accomplished. And I don't know her super well, which is why it's just interesting that our friendship, acquaintance/friendship, because I'd say we're on the cusp of that, you know, a little bit more than acquaintances, but really kind of developing a friendship. You know, this represented sort of a step up in that, and I was inspired by it because I have such respect for her. We're going to eat Indian food, which is one of my favorites, and I don't have the opportunity to dress up very much in any of my areas of work. I work in the event and farm world, both of which are hot, sweaty, dirty, masculine energy, just hard physical labor world, rather than more of the part of me that I am dying to utilize and find opportunities to work with. One of them is speaking. I desire to be using my abilities to communicate, my ability to put together words, my ability to speak to different types of groups and different types of individuals. Oftentimes I've been told that people find my speaking with me inspiring. I want to be doing more of that, if only because my physical body, currently I'm suffering from some physical ailments that are really making physical labor challenging. And I can see the timeline of that. I'm not going to be able to continue, nor do I want to continue the dominant nature of my physical labor. I want to be using more of my mental capacity, my emotional capacity, and most importantly, my heart and my spiritual capacity. So I just threw the camera on because I'm getting ready to go. I'm ready a little bit earlier than what I need to leave. Again, this is dressing up for me. I don't like getting much more dressed up than this. I have some dresses. I'm not particularly comfortable in dresses, although I think I could really benefit from growing more comfortable in dresses. I really enjoy dressing up like this, and I don't know, I can't explain it, but that right there, and it seems like it's ego-driven or driven by vanity, and I'll call bullshit on myself. I mean, perhaps it is to a small degree, but I haven't been able to draw in and physically manifest the opportunities to use this side of me yet, and I certainly haven't been engaging in it, even in my own control like this, in many years. And so I just kind of followed the intuition, turned the camera on, and we'll see what comes out. If only just to get used to, again, speaking aloud, speaking in the now moment, trying to let come through me whatever's intended to come through me in that moment, to convey, to communicate, to share. And I don't know, I'm just very powerful time right now in my world, very powerful time. I dare say the last time I sort of felt this sort of energy building, this intense of a transitional moment in my world was when I took a very huge leap of faith 5.5 years ago. And that's a story for another time. It's been a while, and what has happened in between that time and now, monumental, exponential growth, personally, like off the walls, almost so much so that I truly feel like a completely different person than I was when I first leapt into creating the work of my dreams, doing the work of my soul, all of that I initiated on November 30th, 2012. So I'm feeling less anxious and more excited, and there's a fine line between those feelings. One is sort of, I think the anxiety is more from a fear-based paradigm, where the excitement is more from a love-based paradigm. And things are going very well. There's still a couple of big things, or one area that isn't going as well as I would dream, but I know that where that part of my life is at this moment is exactly where it's intended to be. I need to be solo here for these next few months. I need to really focus on myself, specifically continuing to heal my physical body, because I've been physically working so hard and pushing myself so hard physically, arguably my whole life, but to a whole nother degree in the race world and the Ironman world the past 3.5 years. My body, I have some serious balancing to do in my physical body. Whereas in the past 5 years, I feel like I've done an insane amount of balancing, necessary, essential balancing in my emotional body, first and foremost. Whoa, there was a lot that needed to be addressed in that area. And not to say it's done, not to say that part of me is ever completed, task done, check it off the list. It's just I was wildly out of balance in all these areas, and emotionally, that was the first thing that my journey sort of put in front of me that I had to face. Mentally, I'm still very much an overthinker, but I feel like what I think about and to what I give my thoughts and my energy in my mind, in my brain, is certainly more so to the world of love, to the world I want to be a part of, to the world I believe exists and is waiting for us to vibrationally align to the love-based world, as opposed to fear-based things. Again, not to say that task is done. The journey always requires a constant, reconciliation, a constant balancing act, but I was wildly out of proportion there as well. Now, the greatest balancing that's needed is in my physical body. And that's a tough one, because I'm very much taking into control what I can do on my own. Better stretching, better breathing, better meditation, continued fitness, self-care of my body. But it also, I am so out of whack that I need the help of healers in my life. I need body work, massage. I've been getting acupuncture from a therapist who I consider a friend as well, and getting closer by each appointment. And soon probably chiropractic services as well, which I have zero experience with. But a particular issue I'm dealing with, I think is going to require that. So it's like a team effort of healing for my physical body. And I really sense that as I continue to come into balance with my physical health, that will round out all the components of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health that were wildly out of balance for the whole majority of my life, the first 35 years, 35 to 37 years, and in the past 5 years, truly been trying to bring them all into more of a complementary, just balance point, as opposed to the extremes that I was existing in, the fight or flight constantly. And I can feel it. I have been feeling it. And now the physical nature of my certain things physically are revealing that greater feeling. My fitness hasn't been like where it's at the past 6 weeks in years. My body, my eating has not been this balanced in like unprecedented balance with what I'm putting into my body. Today marks 6 full weeks of no caffeine. Can't even believe how miserable the first 8 days were, telling me how dependent my body was on caffeine. And I mean, I had about 24 ounces of coffee every morning for most mornings, and that was pretty much the extent of it, but very, very potently affected my body, demonstrated by the fact that the withdrawal symptoms I had for the first 8 days. Today marks day 16 of no weed. Big fan of weed. It saved my life. Truly has saved my life. But as with a lot of things, it needed to be balanced out. So I am presently on an intended, at least the goal is a minimum of 4 months of being marijuana free. And I wasn't a huge smoker. I mean, I don't take in, like, I'm not doing it all day, every day, but it was a daily thing and has been a daily thing for the better part of the past 8 years. I would say about 8 years. It's been more or less a daily thing, and have only taken a multiple month break a couple, 2-3 times in that period. So I'm definitely seeking to gain a much healthier balance, and when and if I do return to that substance, it will be used more ceremonially, more medicinally, because I do believe it is a very powerful healing agent, can serve as such when used in moderation. And with intention and purpose. So the next thing up is processed sugar. That's a big one for me. That's probably going to be probably July 1st is what I'm looking at, is when I'm going to add that into the mix of just this very conscious cleanse of all these somewhat toxic things or toxic quantities of things in my body, to just clear out and be present with me, the clearest form of this human that I can be, the cleanest, clearest flowing human vessel of the light energy, which is what I believe we all are and what we're intended to be, a channel of this energy called Source, Light, God, Cosmos, Universe, whatever you want to call it. I know that's what I want to spend the rest of my life doing and being, is the cleanest, purest channel of that light, and allow that light to guide me, and to literally use this form and this personality and this character of Alyson in the way that it needs this character to be and do, to further its mission of union, really, of greater union and oneness, that I think is the ultimate purpose of us all being here, is to grow to the awakening of remembering that we are all connected, we are all one. The expansion of consciousness that I very much believe is taking place on our 3D Earth dimension, reality, is that. So that's just kind of it in a nutshell. Just wanted to capture a little bit of the energy of what I'm feeling. Really hoping, as I listen to this music, I love this particular artist. I hope the singing and the dancing and the painting and the writing return. Those things have been pretty absent after an unprecedented year of joy-filled creations and discoveries of those particular areas in 2013. I had to face the very real 3D world consequences of my leap of faith that was taken specifically with a very risky financial investment in myself and the way that I did it, and had to kind of dive back into the world of money to face those consequences. And I am on the other end. I'm on the other end of that in huge, enormous ways. And those are the creative energies were really hard to keep alive and flowing when I was so focused, because I had to be on crawling out of a very big hole of debt and dealing with all the ripple effect lessons tied to money, this thing we call money, and how energy expresses in our world through this thing we call money. And we all know what immense power that has in, again, our 3D Earth-based world. So, would love to start feeling the flow of doing this regularly again, and igniting the YouTube channel again, and bringing it all back together. In some ways, it's just crazy because everything that I leapt into 5.5 years ago, everything that I was following that I couldn't see, but that I could feel, I could see down the line, I could feel it in my heart, but I couldn't point to anything in my present world at that time that could prove what I was feeling and what I just knew to be true, both really generally and then specific to my life and what I felt my life was going, all of it. Now I've got these things. I've got the physical manifestations as evidence, and to a large degree, I needed the evidence for myself. But in this, why do I bring that up? Is because we live in a world where people need to see to believe, and there was a very big part of me that consciously knew and understood that I was creating an example that was going to be visible for people to see. But it's only going to be visible for people to see if they believe what I'm saying I've done is possible, what I'm claiming to be the greater truth for us all. You can only see it if you believe it. And if you don't believe that a world of love is possible, if you don't believe that we can live in a world without the need for governments and rules and laws and fear-based control and all these things, well, then you're not going to be able to see or hear what I'm talking about or what I've done, and that's okay. So it's really an interesting place because I know the sharing now is going to be done in a very different way than it was before. I was very naive before. I was very young in all of this, even in my knowing of myself as a greater being beyond the character of Alyson. So I had some serious growing up to do, and now that I return to these things that initially called me, sharing in these ways, I'm the same, yet I'm not the same. So and I don't even know if that really makes sense. So it really is sort of the time to take another leap of faith. This time, it's not requiring me, thank God, to take any sort of financial leap. The first time, it truly did. I mean, I truly perceived myself and where I sensed my journey was to go and what my part of my destiny was to be. I know I needed to do exactly what I did. I knew that the whole time. And I knew it was going to be risky, but I didn't have any clue that it would end up going as sideways as it did. And I know it happened for immense numbers of reasons. Some that I already can see and know and speak to specifically, and others that I may never be revealed to me, while I'm still informed. So everything is just, I'm just really growing. Like I said, I'm growing finally, again, back to the excitement and away from the anxiety. Anxiety is the most practiced, one of the most practiced emotions of this character's life. Worry, fear, anxiety, guilt. I had those well rehearsed, well practiced. That was what was known for the better part of 3.5 decades. Trust, surrendering, love-based instead of fear-based. I mean, these are new things. Self-love, new thing. Learning how to stand up for my value, new thing. Learning how to truly care for myself at least as much as I care for other people, new thing. And this is going to be putting it all together of the same vision. All the same things that were guiding me 5.5 years ago are there, more potent than ever, arguably. But the way in which I'm going to be called to share it, address it, and do the work, if you will, is definitely going to be minimally more, I want to say more mature, just more discernment. And it's full of paradox, full of paradox. Because in one sense, it's completely letting go, but in another sense, it's going to be very controlled. That the sharing is going to be very controlled. But the guidance that I'm following it's truly surrendering to that in a very real big way. So thank you to all that is. Continue to thank all that is for just my existence, and I really continue to pray for and ask for guidance and strength and courage, because it takes all of those things to truly walk the path of the light, and to trust what I know my intentions are, to trust the energy that is calling me, and to just do my best to be the best vessel that I can be. So, thank you.